Today, we have brought you the story of an elderly man who is not particularly happy with his life. He has everything, but he has no cure for his loneliness that he could buy. But then one day, something happens to him that leads him to leave his entire fortune to a young woman. To find out, let's begin this story. The funeral of a man named Joseph is taking place. He died 2 days ago due to cancer. Lena, a girl who was his caretaker and the sole heir to his entire will, is performing the funeral rites. A reporter also comes to the funeral, wanting to ask about Joseph because he was a very famous man in this city and also the director of the School of Directorate. He asks how he died so suddenly, and Lena explains that he had cancer. However, the reporter isn't fully convinced, so he asks again if he can see any reports or medical documents. Lena says she has nothing. In reality, the reporter has doubts about how the death happened so suddenly. An unknown girl who was hired as a caretaker became so close to an old man. Could something bad have happened to him? Anyway, he doesn't ask much that day and returns home. But once everything settles down, he visits Lena's house one day. He apologizes for bothering her and explains that he is actually making a documentary about Joseph because he was one of the big figures in the city. He says that his final days were not spent well, and since she was with him, he wants to ask some small questions about their past, how they met, what happened on the first day, and everything else. At first, Lena takes some time, but later she agrees to answer his questions. They go inside the house and sit down to talk, and during this, we go into a flashback to witness the day Lena first came to Joseph's house for the caretaker job. Inside, Joseph tells her that he is in the last stage of his life as he has only a few days left, so he wants to live these final days in peace, which is why he hired her to take full care of him. Lena agrees and starts the job that very day. Joseph also reveals that he has no one in this world. He had a son, but he died in an accident, and since then, he has been living alone in this big mansion. Then we see Lena cooking, but it's not to his liking, so he yells at her quite a bit and throws the food away. While picking it up, Lena gets a cut on her hand, but he pays no attention to it. He treats her like a slave. Throughout the day after working, when she tries to sleep, Joseph throws water on her face and says he isn't paying her to sleep, but to take care of him, even when he is sleeping. The next day, we see that she bathes him with her own hands, helps him get dressed, and serves him food. But again, Joseph throws the food away. This continues for many days. He always wanted Lena in front of him so she could look after him. Sometimes Lena felt very bad about his behavior, but she couldn't find better pay elsewhere. So she slowly learned to live according to his ways. She learned to cook and washed his clothes herself. One night, when Joseph begins to find her work somewhat acceptable, he takes her to a party where many elderly people, who were Joseph's friends, had gathered. He makes her greet all of them and then asks her to perform on stage. Lena sings a song, and listening to it, Joseph becomes very emotional. While returning home in the car, he asks her how she knows how to sing this song so well. She explains that this was her boyfriend's favorite song, who is no longer in this world. Then Joseph says that this was also his wife's favorite song. She used to sing it often, but she passed away one day, and after that, today, after so many days, he heard someone singing it so well. He was quite impressed by her talent. One day, while Lena was cutting his nails, she asked what his son looked like and if he loved him. Joseph says his son was of her age and always wanted to be a pilot, but one day God called him to his side. After this, Joseph asks her why she is spending her youth taking care of him. She says this is her destiny and she wants to follow it to move forward. Hearing this, Joseph also falls into deep thought. What kind of answer was that? A few more days pass, and then one night, Joseph's health becomes very bad. He has pain in his chest, but Lena is not in his room at that time. If he wanted, he could have called her, but for some reason he doesn't. He struggles through the pain to reach the table and drinks the water kept there. Just then, Lena comes to the door and asks if he is okay. He lies, saying everything is fine, and then asks her to get his suit ready. He also asks her to bring a photograph of him taken at an art gallery. Lena prepares his suit and then leaves to get the photo. After she leaves, Joseph puts on the suit with great fondness and smiles looking at his wedding photo. On the other hand, Lena gets the photo, but when she looks at it, she understands why Joseph asked her to go out. In fact, the photo was intended to be used for the funeral, which Joseph had already clicked, and now he was about to commit suicide. As soon as she realizes this, she rushes back to him. Her suspicion wasn't wrong, but by then, Joseph had already hung himself, and his life was nearly gone. But at that moment, Lena finds the strength to take him off the noose with her own hands and lays him on the sofa. When she checks, she finds his pulse is still beating, so she gives him CPR and water. Lena had tears in her eyes. She had only spent a few months with him, but in such a short time, they had formed a bond. And seeing him in such a state, she starts crying. Joseph sees this when he regains consciousness and apologizes to her. Until now, he thought that after he left, perhaps no one would care. But today he realized that for some people, a few days are enough to plant the seeds of a relationship which existed between them. Lena was with him only for the money until then, but seeing his loneliness, she became attached to him. So after that day, a very good bond develops between them. They always stay together, although outsiders often laugh at Joseph seeing this, but it doesn't bother him. One day when they are at home, Lena looks at his family photo, and Joseph tells her that whoever he has loved has either left him or moved away. Then Lena promises him that she will never leave him and will always take care of him, which makes him laugh. Now one day she takes him for a weekly checkup where Joseph asks the doctor how much time he has left. The doctor tells him something surprising. In the last few months, his brain has felt many things due to which his organs are also working properly, and his reports show he has 5 to 6 years left. Hearing this, he becomes very happy, and while returning, holding Lena's hand, he says all this is because of her. If she hadn't come into his life, he would have died long ago. Slowly over time, while living in this loneliness, Joseph began to get closer to Lena. He started liking her, but there was nothing like that in Lena's heart. She always respected him a lot. Meanwhile, while coming home from the market, Joseph eats lunch at his favorite cafe and also has a drink and begins to tell Lena his inner feelings. Within a short time, he drinks so much that he doesn't understand what he is saying. The same happens when they return home. He tries to get intimate with Lena and forces himself on her, but Lena gets free from him. However, she was very hurt and angry at this, so she quits the job. We come back to the present, where the reporter still doesn't believe some of Lena's words, so he does some more investigation. In it, he finds out that before working as a caretaker, Lena used to work in a bar, which she never told him about. So for answers to some more questions, he goes to her house and, seeing a picture of a boy, asks who it is. But Lena gives no answer and invites him for dinner. Both have dinner together. During this, the reporter jokingly says, "Did you kill that old man for his property?" Lena again gives no answer and starts making a drink for him, after which she takes him back into her past. We see that Lena joined the same job once again, but now Joseph's behavior toward her had become much worse. He would scold her all the time and look at her with bad intentions, but Lena tries her best to keep her job safe. She wears the clothes he likes, stays with him all the time, and does everything with him. In the middle of this, we come back to the present, where Lena says, "I will end the story here because before continuing, I want to tell you another story of my life. The night I first met my ex-boyfriend. Actually, the owner of the club where I used to work liked me a lot, but I could never say anything to him because he was very rich, and if he found out, he would fire me. One night when I finished work and was sitting outside, the owner, Sui, came to me and asked me to have dinner with him, which made Lena very happy. She went to a cafe where Sui told her that he liked her, but because of the fear of society, he could never tell her, but now he could not stop himself. So that's how she first met Sui. Well, by now they have had so much to drink that the reporter stays at Lena's house. But when he hears someone crying in the middle of the night, he goes toward the bathroom where he sees Lena crying bitterly. Seeing her in such a state, he understands that something very bad must have happened to her. So he asks her the reason. She says she hasn't killed anyone, but she is troubled by her own life. Whoever she loves always goes away from her. Wait, haven't you heard this line before? Saying this, she kisses the reporter and they are intimate that night. When the reporter wakes up in the morning, he sees that Lena is not there, but he finds a news article from years ago in which it was written about that same bar owner, Sui, who had actually committed. But Lena hadn't mentioned anything about this, and the reason for the is something we will know shortly. Well, after reading the article, the reporter becomes more active and meets some people whom Lena used to meet often. From one shopkeeper, he finds out that Lena used to buy some herbs from him. When she worked at the old man's house, the reporter asks what those herbs were used for. The shopkeeper says they are used to make someone feel close to you. Hearing this, he is surprised because Lena had told a completely different story. After this, we go back to the past, where we are shown that today Joseph has shaved, and after that, he goes to the sleeping Lena and puts a ring on her hand and marries her. That was his belief. But when Lena wakes up, she is very angry at his action and rejects his proposal and leaves. But a few days later, she returns, and this time, seeing her, it seems she was very angry. She goes inside and meets Joseph, and today the real secret of the story is revealed. Actually, Lena's boyfriend was none other than Joseph's son, and he did not commit because of himself, but because of Joseph. Something Joseph didn't know until today. He thought it was an accident. Actually, when Sui told his father about Lena, that he loved her and that she worked in the same bar, Joseph, due to the fear of his reputation, sent some people to the bar to threaten Sui and force him to leave Lena. But their leader did something wrong to Lena in front of Sui, the trauma of which he could not bear, and he jumped in front of oncoming cars. When Joseph finds out all this, he cries a lot because until now he was living on a lie. He feels a lot of regret. The next day when she comes to work again, Joseph asks her to bathe him, which she does, after which he asks for his coat. Today Lena knew that this was the end of Joseph, so she goes into the room and sits down, and outside we see that hearing the secret of his son's death, Joseph cannot bear it, and finally he hangs himself from the noose. Hearing the sound of the stool falling, the tears in the eyes of Lena, who is sitting inside, do not stop. Today, she finally got justice, and so did Sui. Now we see a time 1 year later. Fed up with bearing this loneliness, Lena starts walking toward the train tracks when we see Joseph standing behind her. He stops her and says, "You don't have to die yet. This is not your fault. I got the punishment for my sins." In the end, he also says, "I have left my entire will in your name, so you can live in peace." Then Joseph disappears. Actually, it was his spirit which goes back after the train. And with this, the story ends right there. This story shows us that a person hurts others' love for their own greed, drives them away from their love, but when the same thing happens to them, they realize that there is no greater pain in the world than this. Lena kept coming back to him so that she could make him realize what pain she was going through. And in the end, when Joseph felt that pain, he could not bear it. How did you like the story? Do comment.